Good morning and welcome to Join the Dots. Now today what I want to do is reassure you that we have been following all the macro since this channel started, and I hope by now you understand that the macro has only one or two end games, and they're not good for people, not good for the world, but what they are good for is if you have prepared and you have put yourself in a position where you're going to benefit from things that now cannot be avoided. Okay, please do revisit some of the past videos to understand this, because you need to understand the macro backdrop. Nothing has changed, and all I'm going to do today is bring you some highlights of what is happening at the moment based on that macro, but you have to understand that macro. Okay, you really have to understand that China is imploding in every respect, socially, economically, politically. America has got incredible challenges, but it has at least someone who's trying to do something about it. Europe is a basket case with a war in its heart and just useless leadership. And that applies to an awful lot of the world at the moment, because whatever forces there are out there that have combined to wreck the world over the last 10 years as we knew it in the 80s and 90s and noughties, they've done a good job. Okay, so what I want to do now is take you through our strategy, our preparations, our plans. The first one was gold. Now, I saw a piece out today, and it's on Manico 64 if you want to go and look for it. 8 out of the 10 top performing funds in the UK out of 3,565 funds are precious metals. Well, of course they are. That's what we've been looking at, and that's so far this year to date. Okay, and 12 months, they are the 8 out of the 10 best performing funds. Right, so don't think gold and silver is a fad. It is not. Gold has performed at 9.9% compound since the year 2000. 25 years, which eclipses the S&P. Doesn't matter your booms, your busts, it eclipses it. All right, so gold has been the answer. Most people didn't know that. I hope you do now. Now, we've also got silver, haven't we? And silver, I've got a big piece that I can link in from Andy Schechter, or Schechtman, is it? Andy Schechtman of Mars Franklin. And he's put a piece out where 900 million ounces of silver, which is more than a year's production, has gone to Asia in the last year. 900 million ounces. Asia is preparing for gold and silver. And this is, again, the macro. You have this geopolitical battle between the BRICS and the West as we know it. And gold and silver is a large part of where this battle is going to be fought. Okay, so I've told you that gold or precious metals have 8 out of the 10 top performing funds. What does that mean? Well, it means a rebalancing is coming. It means those fund managers who are way behind the curve, and all the advisors who can't see anything until it smacks them in the face 10 times, are now going to start saying buy gold and silver funds. And what does that mean? Well, that means you get an injection, a huge injection of capital into the market with no more shares or stocks available, so the price goes up. So we're in the right place. We've prepared. Most people haven't, because they don't know what's happening. They don't know the truth. Okay, so let's now talk about our second subject, XRP. Now, there is a short Jake Claver video out today, and it says XRP at $10,000. Now, don't think it's hype, and don't think it's silly, and don't think it's right. Just think about it, okay? Because there is a logic behind that. And that logic was best expressed in a video I did 2 weeks ago called Emergency Exit XRP, okay? And this was Jake Claver's explanation of how the Japanese carry trade, which has been on now for 30, 40 years, so everyone's got used to it. Every single person moving into the financial sector has only seen the Japanese carry trade. So when that comes to an end, almost everyone in the market is going to be totally wrong-footed. They're going to be going the wrong way because they've not seen anything else. 40 years of Japanese carry trade. It's going to unwind. Now, there's no better way of showing you that than two graphs which I've linked in this video, the Japanese 10-year and the Japanese 30-year bond, and what their rates have done over the last year. They've just gone like this. And I think they'll carry on going like that, okay? And this is fundamental. It's macro, it's fundamental, can't be changed, and it's happening. You can't deny it. That's like King Canute. Yes, you can wave the tide back, but it'll engulf you, okay? You can't do it. You have to go with it. You have to prepare for it, not fight it. So the Japanese carry trade is going to unwind. That video I did 2 weeks ago called Emergency Exit XRP, please go back to it and refer to it, okay? So XRP, we have Jack Claver with his short, okay? We also have a very, very good YouTube out on Paul Barton. I think it's called Paul Barton Network, and Rupert from All In Crypto. Now, I've said before that All In Crypto is my go-to site to get the feel for the crypto market. Not every single word he says, just the feel. And I think he's good, Rupert. I think he's genuine, I think he's honest, and I think he's very knowledgeable. And he has a very, very full hour-long discussion with Paul Barton. And again, I think it's really worth you looking at. But there is a short out today. I think it's about a minute. So you can catch the highlights on that, okay? So that's XRP. Silver I've talked about. We've got 900 million ounces going through to the Asian market from the Western market. We know that silver is going to be required for everything in the future because everything is based on electronics, and therefore silver is the best conductor. So you need silver. Now, will high prices stop high prices? The old saying, yes in the end, but not for a long, long time yet. Silver could go to 100, 200, 300 before that sort of pressure really comes to play and affecting the price. So I've tried to take you through our strategy here, our preparations for what's coming. Please, though, you have to understand the macro. You have to understand that China is collapsing. Their worst cement sales since 2009. Well, who could be surprised at that? The only reason cement sales is interesting is because they don't export any. So they can't fudge the numbers. They can't say, oh, well, we're only using this much in China because we're exporting this much, which no one can check. Cement is not exported, okay? So cement sales being at 2009 levels means the economy is at 2009 levels. And the other thing that I'm going to talk about today now, just briefly, is crowding out. And this is a massive macro effect. China's government now needs to raise enormous amounts of money, but it can only do that by issuing bonds. And it can only get those bonds bought by the banks, because the banks are the only people who've got any money in China. They can print it, can't they? They can create money, okay, through the fractional reserve system. So they can create money, but how much? And if the banks take all these bonds on, and they're going to be trillions, and I mean that, trillions. If they take them on, they can't lend money. And anyway, no one wants to borrow anyway because businesses are collapsing, okay? China is imploding. Understand that, because it's very important to the gold, silver and XRP picture. It's very important in a macro view. Right, there's one piece I'm going to link also today. Andy Sheckman talking to Andrew Maguire, and this is about gold. I'm sorry I'm zigzagging, but there's so much to tell you today, and I want to get this out there. Okay, I will link the Andrew Maguire and Andy Sheckman interview. I'll come back to that tomorrow because there's so much in that interview about gold, where it's going, why it's going there, why it can't be stopped, why the US needs to use it. Everything is in that interview that I can see, and I think it's exceptional. So I'll link it below, a bit of homework for you, because I'll come back tomorrow and we'll spend the whole of tomorrow running through that interview because it is so, so important. All right? Sorry this is a bit speedy, but I wanted to get these things to you. I want you to overlap what's happening daily with the macro that can't be prevented, all right? You can't prevent this macro picture developing. So the daily I'm going to bring you, but hold on to that macro picture, and especially go back to that video I did 2 weeks ago, Emergency Exit XRP by Jack Clave and the Japanese carry trade. That is very likely coming. Thank you very much.